Ladies and gentlemen, the Daily Beast. It's over. Trump will be indicted. Business Insider. FBI affidavit signals Trump could get indicted. Yahoo News. It's over. Trump will be indicted. Even Alan Dershowitz says indictment possible, but unlikely. Newsweek. New York Times affidavit cites Trump's refusal to return secret documents. A redacted affidavit released on Friday said the former president took highly classified national security documents from the White House. Officials feared their disclosure could compromise clandestine sources. Hit subscribe to this channel right now and share this segment because it's one of the most important segments that I've ever done. They set up and framed an innocent man with a dossier, the Steele dossier purchased by his direct political rivals. The Steele dossier was completely fake. Completely phony. It was fabricated. Okay? It was the epitome of information that was not only inaccurate, but manipulative, false, deceptive, and it was funneled through the United States government. Then there was a pretext about a meeting between Alexander Downer, who had ties to the Clintons, and George Papadopoulos, which should never have spurred any investigation, because Clinton's emails are not national security. They were top secret and special access program intelligence on servers running outside of the United States government, where she was able to somehow siphon classified data outside the U.S. for 4 years. Clinton almost no doubt committed crimes. Comey even stated there were violations of the law, and I did 2 segments on that. Read his own words. He stated, although there are violations of the law, no reasonable prosecutor would indict. The rule of law was ripped to shreds. Share this segment everywhere. Hit subscribe. The stock market crash channel. Market down 1,000 today. It'll get worse, much worse. I predicted all of this, the recession, inflation, in September of 2021 and October of 2021 in my Federalist article. Read that below in the pinned comment and description. If you want to give a super thanks to this, thank you so much. If you want to support my work on Patreon, thank you. Am I predicting they're going to indict Trump? It's not a firm prediction. I'm just giving you an analysis. Get ready. I would say, because a wounded animal cornered is capable of anything. A political machine that runs on graft and media and social media algorithms and groupthink, and you can look at Tammany Hall in the 1800s to today. You have Hunter accepting essentially bribes. You have Hillary accepting essentially graft and bribes through her foundation. That political system, cheating Bernie Sanders, Debbie Wasserman Schultz being forced to resign, 20% of U.S. uranium capacity, according to the New York Times, essentially given to the Kremlin while President Obama was in office, and he did not veto the sale. According to Snopes, he did not veto the sale. Alongside private servers, if Trump did any of that, he would have already been in prison. Do they have any crimes that Trump committed? Do they have evidence he committed a crime? No. They haven't indicted him for tax returns, for his businesses, for Stormy, for the Mueller probe, for anything. Georgia, New York, trying to overturn democracy with Kinzinger and Cheney. Does that mean they won't indict him? If they set him up, if they set up an innocent man and accused him of being a candidate planted by a foreign adversary, do you think it's possible that they would indict an innocent man? Mind you, if they indict him, the opposite will take place. He'll be more popular. He'll get more, there'll be more energy and enthusiasm, not less. The entire planet will know that his direct political rivals are going after him. Now, there'll be a certain number of Democrats, probably millions upon millions of people, who believe that the system is apolitical and that Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Saturday Night Live, all of late night, MSNBC, CNN, The Washington Post, The New York Times, The Atlantic, New Yorker, New York Magazine, Vanity Fair, Esquire, BuzzFeed, Vice, Daily Beast, Mother Jones, The Nation, Time Magazine, Los Angeles Times, they'll believe that not one Trump supporter exists within those publications or those cable stations. Not one Trump supporter exists within the music industry or Hollywood. Not one Trump supporter in late night. Not one Trump supporter at Twitter. But of course, almost half the electorate voted for the orange menace Donald Trump, but you can't find one person in media, and apparently not one person who's a loyalist at the Federal Bureau of Investigation or other agencies, where you have government employees texting, "We will stop Trump," and still people can't see that they have it out for him. The system, if you want to say the system, because Democrats, we have 1,000 points down in the Dow. Inflation is going up, not down. Food prices are going up. Oil prices are going up. Inflation will go up. It went from 9.1 to 8.5%. It'll go back to 9.1, probably more than that. Layoffs will start. When you have $10 trillion in fiscal and monetary stimulus from Congress and from the Fed, and loans given to businesses, and the economy shrinking 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. And I predicted all of this in September and October of 2021. Watch the playlist. And you have a geopolitical nightmare in Europe, and you have mashed potato brains Joe with Hunter and emails showing clear bribes, kickbacks, pay-to-play schemes. So much so that even the morally superior, highly educated, wonderful, moral atheists say, well, who cares about kickbacks? They have no problem admitting their own corruption, which is actually worse than anything they've accused Trump of, but can't prove. They haven't investigated Hunter. They haven't investigated him. That was not the Clinton email probe was not a probe. And I want a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. I want a Hillary Trump 2024. Clinton needs to be the nominee. We need to relive 2016. We deserve that as a country. We're still living within that. But you have to understand, you have to prepare yourself, ladies and gentlemen. And this is like no laughing matter. You have to prepare yourself emotionally, spiritually, psychologically for a government that's siding with media, that's siding with Hollywood, that's siding with, of course, all of them, the Democratic Party. You have to understand, they don't have anything on Trump. All of their absurd claims not only are hyperbolic, because they don't have anything, they have to say things like, oh, the stain that he's left on democracy. Like, they're getting into this esoteric, pseudo-philosophical type of ambiguous, it's a stain, don't you know? Well, what crime did he commit? Well, we're investigating. We'll let you know. We already know the crimes with a top secret intelligence on servers. Then they say, well, he had top secret intel in his boxes at Mar-a-Lago. He was the former president with the ability to classify and declassify, and he was negotiating with the National Archives. Since when was the National Archives revered by the entire planet? This is a government agency. He's a former president. They're negotiating. What's the problem? He didn't have secret servers. But again, it's a double standard. The rule of law has been ripped to shreds the past 6-7 years. When it's a Democrat, Hunter, you have Facebook even admitting, and Zuckerberg even admitting that, oh, well, we got a letter. We got a letter from loyalists in the government. Well, it could be a disinformation from the Vladimirs. So we didn't talk about it. Imagine if Democrats didn't have all of that. They have every conceivable possible advantage, and still Trump is a runaway freight train. They almost have to indict the man, which will then, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. Trump is the sword of Damocles hanging over their head at all times. If they indict him, they will bolster, rejuvenate, energize the Republican Party around Trump, and it will backfire. If they don't indict him, runaway freight train Trump, they lose to him. They almost must indict Trump. They can't stand on any policies. $10,000 for student loans. That the left wants all of student loans. The left wants the entire Green New Deal. The left wants Medicare for all, single payer. I used to be on the left my whole life. They get nothing. They get trampled upon all the time by the Democratic Party, and they still vote blue no matter who. All of these musicians, for example, going after Tim Pool, all of these people who are on the left who are like, oh yeah, Trump is so horrible. They cannot name a crime. They cannot name a policy they really dislike about Trump. Because anything they say, let's say, I actually agree with people on the left. There was one specific policy regarding immigration that I disagree with. Trump reversed that eventually, like a year. But you want to know, I can't talk about, because of the community guidelines, I cannot talk about what happened under President Obama's administration, which was infinitely worse. And I can't talk about what's taking place now under Mashed Potato Brains Joe, which is diabolical. It's taking place. It's in public record. It's taking place without the apoplectic, morally superior reaction of Democrats because they're either ignorant or hypocrites when it comes to all of these policies, immigration included. And then foreign policy, the whole time they impeached Trump, oh my God, he pressured that country. That country's being invaded now under Democrats. There's a recession. The country that they claim to stand up for is being invaded under their watch. You have a geopolitical nightmare, an economic downturn. Our standing in the world is like, our credibility is completely obliterated within 2 years. And then you have, the same guidance for that person and then another person after a year and a half or 2 years of you must do this, and if you don't do this, you'll never be able to live normally again. And they are almost always wrong. But when they're wrong, they get media to cover up everything. And so you have a situation where you might say they can't indict Trump. That would fracture the country. What do they care? You think when Jimmy Kimmel takes a gigantic dump every single night, or Stephen Colbert, on half the country, you think he cares? They're making millions upon millions just speaking in an echo chamber. They don't need half the country. You think that people at government agencies, if they indict Trump, that they'll care? That half the country will be upset? They already have the half that they care about. And so they're going to indict an innocent man. I wouldn't say almost certainly. It looks like they're going to indict Trump. I hope I'm wrong. Or actually, it's not. It could go either way. It's like 50-50 in my book now. But you have to prepare yourself psychologically, peaceful. It should only be peaceful response. Legal and peaceful response in terms of voting. They should tell you that if they do it to Trump, they'll do it to any citizen. They'll set up any citizen they view to be a political threat or obstacle. They will then say, well, democracy demands we indict Trump. He's not above the law, as Hillary and Hunter and Democrats are routinely above the law. President Obama gets 30 million unclassified documents. How can you get 1 million unclassified documents, much less 30 million, as a former president? So they won't care if you say, well, what about Clinton, top secret intelligence on servers? Of course, that's infinitely worse than what Trump is accused of having done. But they don't care. That's my point. They will not care. And so you will see people jumping for joy, and then it'll be, oh my God, we miscalculated again. And if, God forbid, Trump, for whatever reason, decides not to run or can't run, God forbid, because the system is diabolical, then you get DeSantis or Trump Jr. eventually. You will never get rid of Trump Republicans or the ideology or the philosophy, the political philosophy of taking America out of never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, and making sure that we get record highs in household median income like we did with Trump. We had a record high in household median income and a record low in poverty. Morally superior socialist or 90s band that goes after Tim Pool because he has a record out. What is wrong with record lows in unemployment and a record low in poverty? We had a record low in poverty with real wages up. We have poverty up and real wages down with Mashed Potato Brains Joe. So, again, it's like you have a situation where Doha agreement that Biden completely botched, but it was Trump that brought home Americans in numerous regions of the world. First president to step foot in North Korea, Abraham Accords, hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, highest ever household median income. The rebuttal is, oh, well, there was outsourcing under Trump. Like, there was outsourcing under President Obama. People still made money, more than ever. And there were hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, 200,000 lost in 8 years with President Obama. Why do you think Trump defeated Clinton like I said he would? At the end of the day, it was Comey's letter, but also people did not want, and Bernie would have won had he not been cheated. I'm glad that Trump won, because Bernie would have been a terrible president. He would never have fought back against a system that would go after him also. And his policies actually would cause poverty, but that's another story. Believe me, I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. A number of reasons why his policies would cause an economic downturn, but they would have treated him in the same way, because they don't like Bernie, they don't like Trump. Bernie easily could be the nominee next time around. Also, I think Hillary will be. I would love for Hillary to be, but they'll cheat him again. But see, what I'm trying to say is, at the end of the day, they have nothing but contempt for Trump and a failed record. They have no choice almost but to indict the man. And so, still I'll vote for an indicted Trump, just like a Democrat would vote for an indicted Clinton. If it was Clinton Trump in 2016, you better believe they would all vote for an indicted Clinton. The difference being, Madam Secretary committed crimes, Trump did not. Sorry, not a crime to negotiate with the National Archives, already give the Federal Bureau of Investigation access to 15 boxes, and have a dispute over classification where it's for a library, not to hide your communication because of pay-to-play schemes or 30,000 emails deleted where it's almost certainly having to do with the foundation. Again, I want Hillary as nominee. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Very important segment. Just don't be shocked or stunned if they do indict him, and just vote Trump Republican. At the end of the day, if people don't like recession, if people don't like crime, then they won't vote Democrat. If they enjoy those things and their contempt for Trump or the fabricated dislike for Trump is greater than the need to have a good economy, then they'll vote Democrat. The Senate, I think, will go Republican, also the House for sure. But hit subscribe to this channel. It's a very important segment. Share this everywhere. Thank you.